Okay, I'm ready.
Hey, for sure. I think
Dang.
I can fire this thing up.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Goose Chasing, a podcast brought to you by TAGNBRAG and TAGNBRAG Productions. We are also brought to you by TAGNBRAG Apparel. Visit our website, www.tagnbrag.co, for the latest weekly apparel. Dean, what's on the site this week?
We have a hoodie going up
We have a hoodie
tonight.
going. We have a hoodie going up tonight. It's limited supply only. Once they are sold out, they are sold out.
Kaput.
They are gone. They are gone. You will never see them again. So if you want them, you must buy them on the spot.
Get it now while supplies last.
TAGNBRAG's Goose Chasing is also brought to you by TAGNBRAG Land Management. There's better hunting in your future. Let's build a management plan
Together.
Dino, why don't you talk a little bit about that management plan, consultation, Billy Bob bullshit? That's some good stuff.
It is some good stuff, and we opened it up this year. We're planning on doing 10. We already have a handful of spots.
I think there's already five in the system
locked up. So if anybody wants one, call now.
It's the land consultation is basically us relaying our expertise on your hunting property of choice. So we do everything from coming out to walk the land, to understand it a little bit better, put some boots on the ground, food plot designation, food plot sources, tree stand placement, trail cam placement, access in and out of your tree stands, blinds, all that stuff.
Bedding
We want
areas,
help,
sanctuaries,
creating bedding areas, avoiding areas. I mean, ultimately, we want to make your hunting experience better. So, if you're interested in something like that, once again, www.tagnbrag.co. Fill out the little questionnaire form that we have on the website, and it'll send us an email, and we will be contacting you ASAP Rocky.
Let's go.
Let's get that consultation on, baby.
Get them boots on the ground.
Man, I want to get some boots on the ground, boy.
I'm excited to do these this year. Just go out and see other people's hunting properties, what their goals are, and seeing all the work that we've, done in the last 15 years of deer hunting. Just seeing it pay off for us and trying to, translate that into other people's hunting properties so they can enjoy the same success.
Well, and I mean, I guess part of our reason of doing it is trying to fast track it for these other people so that they don't have to wait 15 years to see results.
Yeah, you don't have to make the same mistakes we did.
I wouldn't say it was I mean, I think it was like a 15-year process from when we were like weed whacking fields, literally with a weed whacker we were like creating paths with a sickle.
Food plots with a sickle, really.
Many moons ago. So
yeah,
how far it's come. And I mean, Dean is the mad scientist, and when I mean mad scientist, he's put in a lot of time and effort off the tractor, and doing his own research and stuff like that to figure out the best ways where we can grow good food plots, hold good deer, and just have better hunting. And we do.
Yeah.
I mean,
better hunting. Better hunting is the thing. It's just, I didn't mean to cut you off, but some people knock us like it's for the food plot thing. It's just having food on your property all year. Deer are seeking food no matter what.
Truth.
So keeping it on your property all year where it's plentiful enough so those deer they're not going to sit on your property all year, but they can spend a majority of their time there, and that's the point. Spend as much time as possible on your property so you have opportunities to hunt them, and just have fun hunts. Even if you don't want to hunt them, just want to see them and learn about them. Just
right. Yeah, I mean, and with doing it up in New York, I mean, I think that pretty much proves concept. I mean, I would probably say New York's in the bottom 5, and that's probably being generous on the quote unquote worst states to whitetail hunt in the country as far as big buck goes, like big mature bucks go. And it's not that they can't get big and mature up there. It's just they have, like, based on the hunting laws, in my opinion, they have just less of a chance. I guess the hunting laws are designed more toward controlling maybe the population, and I'm not even really sure if that is the case.
No, I think New York's hunting regulations are money driven. Honestly, it's how can we get get the most hunters in the state for revenue dollars? Because our population up there, I think, is huge. I think it's obviously different in other areas, but the way they set up their regulations, we just don't. It doesn't favor quality deer or a diverse age structure. That's for sure.
I would agree with that. But when you've turned that around, I guess, on our own property, and most of it was starting on 100 acres, and we've acquired more now, or we're just about at 200 acres. But when you think about, I guess, what we've been able to do over the course of really 5 and 6 years, actually, it's probably a little longer than that now, like 7 to 8 years in bulk, where we really started, planting food plots and managing the deer, and to have taken a couple booners off of that property in Western New York is pretty insane.
Yeah, and it's awesome to be able to, kind of like I was just saying, take the state's regulations, kind of out of their hands and manage your property to try to change the quality of deer outside of that, if that makes sense. You get certain states where they're like, they just got it down, and they have the regulations down where you're gonna have quality deer there. So you could hunt public land or an unworked or unmanaged piece of private, and there could be great deer on it just because of the hunters around and the general state regulations that favor the deer. And in New York, that's not the case. So you got to kind of work it yourself.
But the cool part is, I think that New York has a great, at least our part of New York where we hunt and where we grew up hunting, has a great habitat, or just a great kind of ecosystem for the deer, minus the harsh weather conditions that we get in the wintertime up there. But if you have the right food, I mean, like you said, food and cover, especially once it comes to that late season and when the snow gets real deep. But yeah, I mean, it's been a fun journey. Honestly, that part of it anymore, I like the most, is just being able to not only on our own property, but even on other people's land, be able to take, like, if it's other people's land, a blank sheet of paper from a property standpoint, and just go to work and try and figure it out. Like, that's just an awesome thing to me.
Yeah, and it's just watching the process over a couple years. It never happens overnight, but you can feel every year when you work a plan, it gets better and better, and I don't know, that's the most rewarding part to me. It's like the harvest is there, and that's what you're striving for. But I could just watch deer grow every year and be a happy man.
You are one corn pile, son of a gun. You are. Oh man. Well, yeah. So if anybody, I guess, getting back to it, if anybody's interested in that sort of thing, or wants their land consultated by your boys, hit us up.
Give us a shout.
Like Dean said, we're just based on our schedules and stuff. We're only accepting right now 10 land consultations for the year. So if you are interested, I would encourage you to apply within very, very quickly. Anyway, Dino, what's going on in the world out there? Stuff's blowing up in your neck of the woods. I've
new news
been hearing.
Literally.
I mean,
blowing up.
And there's more of these trains getting derailed and things exploding and hazardous waste going into the atmosphere.
Seems a little fishy to me.
It definitely seems fishy to me, honestly. And I don't know that people really fully understand the ripple effect that this could have.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think anybody, I don't know, including myself, we don't really know, but this is something that toxic, especially on the Ohio River, or not on the Ohio River, but affecting the Ohio River, and that channels to so many water supplies. And it's just crazy the trickle effect of where all that can go. And it's not just affecting humans, it's affecting wildlife, or it
Which,
will affect
well,
wildlife.
yeah, which I mean, indirectly is going to be affecting us. I mean, especially us as hunters. I don't know what the effect it could have. I mean, if some of this drinking water is so poisonous it could kill a human, obviously it could kill an animal. They don't know any better. I mean,
No, I mean, and that's what I will say is, most animals are their senses, smell and stuff like that are better than ours. So, and these animals are smart. If the water is very contaminated, I don't see them drinking it. But
no,
I,
yeah,
I
I
could
agree.
be I could be wrong. But it also could be a virtually undetectable amount in there that you don't know is in there really, and it's still affecting you if you're drinking it. But I mean, regardless, the amount of hazardous poison that went into the groundwater and in the air, um, especially the couple days after that happened, it was super windy. We had like southwest winds. I mean, that was probably blowing all over Ohio. Um, I don't know. But then you got the government telling you that everything's fine and drinking water's good, and it's like less than a part per million. But, you know, during COVID, everyone had to wear masks, but
Yeah,
this is fine.
yeah. Go ahead and drink the water.
It's good.
Everybody get a cup.
Bathe in it.
It's a little nutty, but it tastes great.
Just don't swim for a day and everything's fine.
I mean, yeah, I definitely don't want to get off on a political tangent, but something seems calculated with all this.
You just always wonder.
You just always wonder. It's hard to say that all of this is a coincidence, but I don't know. Crazy things in this world today. You just got to enjoy the day that you're in
You do.
currently, and yeah, utilize it to its fullest. I don't really know what else to say, and I'm guilty of not doing that, just like anybody else. But I think it's just a healthy reminder of savor thy moment, enjoy the day. Well, this is our first podcast apart.
Yeah.
We're on this Restream app, and it's actually working out quite nice. Although I'm set up in this podcast room right now, and it literally looks like I'm either trying to do some mad science or fly like a jet or something. Or I don't know.
You
There's
got stuff.
wires, there's wires and shit going everywhere in here.
My
Are you a
desktop's like
first
that
time
also.
podcaster or no?
Or no? Is this your first time doing podcast or no?
No. Speaking of now, went
You
to
do
NW.
you do split screen or no?
Do you alternate back and forth from split screen to like seeing a wide angle of just one of you guys, or no?
You listen to yourself in the headphones or no?
Do you ever listen to your podcast over again to see what you said right and what you said or no?
Or no? Did you go to NWTF or no?
Bro, yeah, I got back Friday night and actually I went Saturday. It was a friggin' nut house. It was
Can
cool though.
imagine.
Yeah, I mean it was insane. Although it was a beautiful day down here in Nashville. It was like 65 and sunny, so the people were out and about. But North Dakota Kane was in town and family. They were recording some music here, which was pretty cool. So I met up with Kane on Saturday. They were actually staying at Grand Ole Opry, and him and I walked the show together. It was pretty funny. He was every time he heard a duck or a goose call, his eyes lit up, and he just like looked over his shoulder, like trying to see where it was coming from, and then he started I started kind of giving him a hard a hard time. I'm like, dude, you got to start testing out some of these calls. You're kind of cackling like, oh, this call's good, this call sucks, this call's good, this call sucks. I'm like, I want to hear something. Give me a friggin'
tune, man.
give me a cackle, man. Call me in. Get me cupping,
Let me
bro.
go across the room and entice me.
Yeah, get me cupping in, bro. Get me cupping to the deeks.
Try this one. It's hand carved Coca-Cola.
It was fun though. Like a couple of the people that we were talking to actually recognized Kane from some of our videos.
Yeah.
And so obviously, he was all juiced up about that. Trying to think, yeah. Talked to our buddy Jared from OnX for a while. He was standing with Mark and Chris B and Caitlin Moss. So we were hooting and hollering for a second. But yeah, there was just a lot of people there, man. I mean, it was overwhelming. It's a cool show and definitely worth going to. You definitely have to go there with a full belly because all the lines to get food had to be an hour plus long, easily.
Full belly and earplugs.
Full belly, earplugs, and your favorite tail feather.
Got to be nice going to. I mean, it's just a different change of pace going from a show not open to public to show that's open to public.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Because you're. I mean, guys like Mark Drury, Michael Waddell, all these people hunting public, they all have booths or they're all just like in booths there. And so you're up against all, you're kind of walking amongst all the people that you're watching on TV and on YouTube, online, whatever. But then there's thousands of people that are just there for the cackle. And, you like for us, get pulled aside every once in a while, and people that run into you never seen before. Kane, this group of dudes stopped us for a little bit. They're, chest bumping and shit. And Kane's like, you know those guys? I'm like, no. He's like, that's insane, man. That's insane. I'm like, well, dude, it just comes with the territory. We're really not that cool. We just put ourselves out there. So we ain't like anybody else. We are like everybody else, I should say.
Damn right.
You went out with our buddy Ryan, I think, this week, doing a little shed hunting. I haven't been out shed hunting. I mean, I've been out walking a little bit, but I haven't like actually packed the bag and put some miles on the boots. But you were out this week, weren't you?
Yep. First walk under the belt. I mean, half of it was this is a new property of his. I'm just kind of going out to look at it. And he wanted me to see what work he did in a year and how it was set up, and which was awesome to see because he's very knowledgeable on the deer management side as well. But yeah, obviously we were shed hunting. We actually didn't find any sheds, but he told me a lot of his bucks out there were still holding, which have noticed that. I don't know. I would think maybe half of them still are. But it was fun to get out there, get some boots on the ground, probably put 4 or 5 miles on and get the legs burning a little bit, seeing some deer sign. I don't, honestly, shed hunting, that's just what I love to do. Like that's the name of the game for me, is just kind of, it's the time you get out and actually just freely walk the woods or walk your woods without, feeling like you're booting anything around or you're hurting the property. And you see what the deer did all year. But, you have a love-hate thing for shed hunting a little bit.
What do you, I mean, you just, you walk a lot and you don't find a lot of sheds or what?
Yeah. A lot. Shed hunting is just so funny. You can literally walk 10 miles. I mean, 10, and you will not find a shed. And then you'll walk 100 yards and you'll find 4.
X marks the spot, bro. Mark that on your OnX.
Obviously, deer are very, they're very herdy right now. They yard up. They group up. So yeah, when you find, and the food sources are limited, so that's many times when you're finding the sheds is where the deer right now in the winter. Unless you can go in and, you find a bed and there's a shed laying in there or whatever. But, I'm always back and forth with everyone finds a shed and they're like, I just added a piece to the puzzle here.
I was just going to ask, do you think
Did
do
you?
you
Or I
think
don't know. Maybe.
do you think shed hunting actually matters? I mean, not that it doesn't matter, but does it really matter?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about in terms of like hunting
How
that
much does it
deer
matter?
or eight. Yeah. I think it's
I mean, you find a
over.
you find a shed in the middle of a cut cornfield. What
Well,
does
you
that
just
matter?
you just found the shed. That's what's cool about it is you found the shed, and it's cool to sometimes you find a shed that's a deer you were watching. Sometimes you find one that's not a deer you're watching. If it's one that you're watching, it's cool to actually hold the rack, and you get to actually feel what the size of that deer that you were looking at all year. That's cool.
I
That's
agree.
awesome. But like where you found that shed, like is that does that matter a ton? I mean, I don't think so. Yeah, you might get one that's like, oh, it's in a bed, and you're like, okay, this I didn't know he was laying right here, and I could, maybe he was here more than I thought he would. Yeah, there's times where it might it might give you a clue, maybe, but most of the time, I don't think it gives you really any clues. It's just fun to find them because honestly, when they drop their horns, it's usually January, February, March, sometimes April, and it's after hunting season. The most important thing hunting deer is your most recent information.
I would agree with that.
MRI.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
And where he's dropping that shed is not MRI. It's MRI for now, but it's not hunting season, so it doesn't really matter. You know what I
It's
mean?
true. Yeah, I do know
I
what you
mean,
mean.
we've found sheds for deer we were watching, throughout the season in spots where they like okay, we probably found the shed in his bed, but it was his bed right then. It was that's I mean, we almost knew for facts that that's not where he was bedding all year.
Sure.
He was we were getting pictures of him a mile up the whatever away. So again, I just go back to it. I just love getting out in the woods and walking. If you happen to pick up some sheds, that's a bonus. It's cool. But finding ones to like give you a clue, like unless a deer is living in like a 10-acre, 20-acre area, which some do, they all have personalities. Some do, but unless they're doing that, then I don't know how much the shed actually matters about you hunting the deer.
Yeah, I mean, more oftentimes than not, they're in a different area when the hunting season is in its prime, October, November, as they are when you are finding their shed.
Yep. Yep.
Sorry, my camera's all fucked up right now and it's pissing me off.
Yeah, mine wasn't recording. I just had to start it again.
All right, well that's good, man. We're on the third podcast. We still suck at this.
We still
But we're
do.
just gonna roll right fucking through it. We are gonna roll right through it. And we're gonna love every minute of it.
It's funny going back to sheds. We had a good, like in New York, we had a great shed season last year, but there were so many bucks that we didn't even have on our property all year that were wintering on a specific portion of our property, and we were finding sheds from bucks that we didn't see all year. Yeah, they were on camera when late after season when they
Right.
dropped their sheds, but we found sheds from bucks like 5, 6, 7 different bucks that were like, man, these are going to be great deer next year. We didn't see any of them this year.
None.
None of them.
Well,
I mean,
no,
there was a couple that popped up, but a lot of the
yeah.
ones I was looking at our sheds yesterday at camp, and I'm like, we didn't get a picture of any of these deer this year. And so it was fun to pick those sheds up, but at the end of the day, none of it mattered.
Yeah, we shot all different bucks. And we
And
did and the crazy part is like last year, Bernie MIA after the season. Don't
didn't
know
find
where
his
he went.
sheds.
I mean, Cartman, we found his sheds, but we found his sheds the last 3 or 4 years, and he's been one deer that has been, more or less there all year long. Just I don't know if that was his personality or what, but that's just how it's been. But I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess Jamario's we found, and I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
And that
But
and well, yeah, sorry, go ahead. We'll get into that one.
no, but I mean, like you think about all the notable deer that we've shot over the last last handful of years. I mean, Nipsey, we have the sheds from Nipsey, but they're from our neighbor, um, which I guess those were
We
closer
could
than
have found them.
yeah, those were closer than a lot of the other ones. The Godfather, I mean, I've heard guys, finding his sheds up close to a mile away from where I actually shot him. And then the year before that, where we had him a majority of November and into December, was on the other side of the street. Like it wasn't even on the same side of the road as where I actually shot him.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've heard, yeah, I mean, we've heard people finding that deer sheds all over the place. I mean, Don was one that the year before we stumbled upon his shed, relatively close, I guess, to where you guys ended up shooting that deer too. But I don't know. It's more oftentimes than not we're finding sheds off deer that we never have a chance to harvest.
Yep. No, it is crazy. And then you just watch social media and things, and you're just like, guys are picking up sheds left. Like some guys go out and collect them like they're, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, they're just every 10 steps. That's what it feels like anyway. Um,
But when you have big crop fields, like big ag fields and stuff like that, and you can cover ground quicker, like if you have a four wheeler or something like that, and I mean, the deer are naturally going to gravitate to those areas, so you're going to have the best opportunity to find them. When you're walking through like a massive hardwoods or just like kind of the swamp areas of New York, I mean,
yeah, they could be anywhere. I mean,
yeah,
you
I
walk,
mean,
you walk right over top of them.
easily. I mean, yeah, yeah. There's been a couple times where we've
We have.
found sheds where we're like, what? We literally walked here multiple times.
Yep. Yep. But we have found, I guess going back to it, kind of getting into Jamario's, who Uncle Jay shot this year. Like we found both of his sheds, but where we found the sheds was a spot that he was clearly wintering. And if we didn't own that portion of our property, we would have no idea like where he went, but he was where his sheds were was not where he was spending time during the hunting season. It was not where he was in October, November.
No, I mean, it really wasn't even. Yeah, we honestly, where we found his sheds, we never really got pictures of them in that area before, and
No.
his sheds were, I don't know, I mean, hundreds of yards apart for sure. It seemed like he lost both of those just kind of
On the walk.
on the walk route wherever he
Yeah.
was. Because I mean, you found his first side fairly early. That was one of the first sheds you found last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And both of them are, and this is the case in New York with a lot of sheds that you find are in hemlock
Yeah.
areas because if you have a deep snow winter, which we often do, didn't have one this year, but that's all they have to browse on. When you get a deep freeze and they literally can't paw the ground. They can't even get really to the ground. When that snow hits the hemlock trees and weighs them down, that's where the deer winter because they're literally like Canadian moose. They eat the pine, they eat the hemlock needles, and that's what gets them through the winter.
It's bizarre. You watch on trail camera, like some of the cameras that we have back in those pine bottoms and stuff, and they the like when the snow hits, I mean those branches the branches are literally 3 to 10 feet difference in being up in the air now compared to being down.
Yeah.
And the deer are literally just easily. It's like it's Mother Nature feeding itself
Feeding them. Yeah.
essentially. It's
It's really
it's
crazy.
it's really crazy to watch and to see. And up in New York specifically, we always thought the deer just up and left our property when we had a smaller portion. And honestly, they kind of did because they were flocking to the heavier hemlock bottoms where the snow under the trees is far.
Yeah. It's less.
It's I mean, there's far less of it, and then the snow on the trees is pushing the branches down so they can eat.
Yeah. They can
So
just stand there, lay down, and eat all day. It's
it's
like stand
crazy
up, lay down, stand up, lay down.
when we go in there, when we go in some of these areas to shed hunt, the trails that are going through and the deer shit that is just everywhere.
Yeah.
Like these deer are just literally living there. All I mean,
I mean,
they're
it's
spending
probably for like it's a 45 to 60-day period.
right. Yeah,
That
realistically.
they're literally
Yeah.
just not they're not going far.
And eating pine needles? What the fuck?
It's all they got.
I mean, it's
I mean,
wild to me.
there's days like last year. I remember. I think it was almost for sure all of February. We didn't have a high temperature over 32 degrees. So that's when you get into a deep freeze when it's like
Yeah.
there ain't nothing green to eat or the ground is just rock solid and they don't have a choice really. They're browsing on any type of bud they can find on some new, you know,
Yeah.
young tree growing, or they're eating pine needle or hemlock needles.
Give me something.
Give me something.
My belly is empty.
That's why it's kind of cool when in the late winter, if a way you can help deer get through is just get out of. I mean, we don't like cutting down a lot of our hemlock trees, but you just cut a couple down. Which we've done, or some just from the snow and wind will uproot and fall, and you'll see
They
them, and you
hammer
go
them.
back there like 2 weeks later, not even, and the tree's a skeleton.
It is really nuts. I
It's
mean, it's
crazy.
but you think about think about a pine needle, and obviously there's a lot of pine needles on the hemlock trees, but like that it's not much to eat. So when them
Yeah,
deer find one, especially when the snow gets deep, when they find one that's like easily accessible, they probably literally just stand there
they
until it's
lay around it and get up and nibble.
eat, Papa, eat.
Eat, papa, eat.
You want to eat?
Eat, papa, eat. So how did you? I found that first shed for Jamario. You found the second, which it wasn't even shed
I,
season.
the second one I found in May when we were turkey hunting, and honestly, it was the only reason I found it was because I whacked a bird. So we were we were up in New York. We had Brian from Rocky coming up to hunt with us. We hunted for a couple days. We got on some birds, and then the weather kind of went to shit for like a day and a half. Um, Brian ended up leaving, and we stayed up there, and it was kind of like it was our last like day and a half or day. I think it was our last. No, it was our last 2 days because that morning we went out, had the birds gobbling in the roost. Here they come, cackle, cackle, keekle, cackle, and of course they friggin' figure out a way to skirt us up there. Literally, seems like daily. We're in the game right off the rip, and then by 8 o'clock, it's time to go to breakfast. So we actually went back to camp for breakfast. I think you had to go to Hogan's to work or something because
Yeah,
Uncle Jay and I just split. We each took our own like self-filming gear. I didn't really take much. I think I had the main camera. Actually, no. I I set up it on like the edge of one of our food plots at like 9:30, and I had the camera, the main camera, a couple GoPros set up. But then by like I think it was by like 10:30, 10:45, I was like, I'm going for a walk. At this point, I'm not sitting on this food plot like hunting turkey like I hunt deer. It just wasn't. I don't know. I want to go walk the woods. So I just took a couple GoPros and threw the gun over my shoulder, and I just was walking and stalking probably 100 yards, couple 100 yards at a time, through the pine bottoms and shit, and calling here and there. I mean, my calling isn't the greatest, but I was just honestly more or less enjoying the woods. I wasn't even considering it being a goose chase by any means, and then it turned very quickly. It was like 11:30. I could see in the distance, I could see this gas line that we have going through our property, and I was kind of circling back towards camp at that point, and I I'm like, I want to go and just for the last half hour at least be able to see the gas line, and I'll just hit a couple calls because I think it was the day before we had some birds working. They at late morning it kind of seemed like they had worked up into that area. So I go up there, I sit down, I set both my GoPros up. I'm just like sitting against this pine tree. I mean, literally just out in the open. But I was in the shadows of the pines and I'm looking out into the gas well road, and it's pure sun out there. So when you're out there looking into the pines, I mean you really couldn't see shit. Um, I literally hit the call one time. I sat down, I picked up my phone. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying the last 20 to 30 minutes of the hunt. The hunt is over at noon. Dude, I shit myself. I looked up, and the farthest point I could see on the gas well from where I was sitting, I just caught like a window of like movement in between two trees, just like open door, close it. And I was like, that was something. A lot of times your eyes play tricks on you when you're in the woods, whatever. But like when I'm like, that was something. And I'm sitting there like waiting. It kind of was like there's a clump of trees that I couldn't really see, and all of a sudden, appearing on the other side of the trees, this freaking gobbler is literally walking down the hill, walking down the damn gas well road, literally just on a Sunday stroll, just like walking down this road, and literally like I mean he's gonna fall not in my lap, but he's gonna end up being 35 yards in front of me on the road, and I'm assuming that he was coming to the silent call, or it was just a damn good coincidence. I'm not really sure, but he got to like 35 yards, dude. I didn't call anymore or nothing. Like at that point, I'm like I was safety off, ready to roll, and he got to like 35 yards, and I had just bought a new turkey gun called the Charles Daly, and I'm obsessed with this thing. In it's in Mossy Oak Bottomland camo, and it was like $250. But I had only shot it a couple times, and it was shooting great. I just had the bead on it, and I put that bead like right on his head and friggin' squeezed and folded his ass at like 35 yards, dude. He didn't move. It was awesome. It
The
was
hardest
awesome.
that is the hardest thing is expecting expecting that birds can come in silently because
Oh,
you think turkey hunting, like we do a lot of running and gun and just kind of slowly walk in the woods, walk 50 yards, hit a call, walk 50 yards, hit a call, and you're like, well, if nothing's responding, nothing's here. But
right.
especially in New York, that is not the case.
No, I mean with the Fisher cats up there and stuff, like they will be silent a lot. A lot of times
Well, and a
we don't
lot
get out.
mid to late morning,
Yeah,
there's a lot of silence.
right. And I mean, yeah, it was crazy to me when I looked up and I was just like it was like a ray of sunshine coming down that damn coming down that gas ball road, and
He was
dude, I
coming to investigate the call for sure. That's what he is. He was just not making a peep.
right, but I'm surprised. I guess for a turkey, it would make sense for him to just be walking down, in that open like that, and because he was just kind of looking. But
Well, they're always up and down that. They love strutting and going up and down that. It's the only green. It's a
yeah,
huge hardwoods. It's just a green strip up there. So
I think when I got to the bird, I looked at my phone. It was like 10:45, or I mean 11:45. It was literally 15 minutes from the bell. It was awesome. So I I was celebrating with myself up there. Where I was, I had no service. I think I was trying to text or call you and Uncle Jay and Dad, whatever, and I couldn't get anybody. But I packed up my stuff and I threw that thing over my shoulder and I started walking down the gas well. And dude, I probably didn't walk 100 yards back towards camp from where I literally dropped that bird. And I look over, and right under this pine, but kind of out in the open, is the bigger half of Jamario's rack. And it's literally just sitting there. I mean, the thing is so damn white. It was just like, yeah, here I
it is.
am, here I am, here I am. And dude, I mean, talk about fired up. Like I dropped the bird 15 minutes before the bell, and I'm walking like another whatever 60, 80 yards, and I pick up, one of the buck sheds that we were actually really looking forward to picking up because we didn't know if he was 3 or 4 the year before. We were thinking that he was more along the lines of 4, and knew that he was going to be a 5+ year old deer this past season. And it was just, yeah, I mean, you felt like you were putting the pieces of the puzzle together, but we actually weren't. He was not shot anywhere close to there.
Well, and I guess going back to the point is you'll walk 20 miles, find whatever you're looking for the shed, and then you'll find it when you're not looking.
Yeah, I mean,
and most of the time that happens because you find it where you never thought where it would be.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, that one was weird because you and I had done a couple tracks
in that area.
Property, and I'm surprised that we didn't see that one just because of how out in the open it was. But
and obviously, critters can find these things 100 yards away and just drag them. I mean, I've seen this happen a lot. So, yeah, it's just that happens a lot. We had a buck that would have had great potential. We were looking forward to him. We found him dead on our property last year, and was waiting for late spring to come so I could go, grab the dead head because he was pretty nasty. And when I went down there, and I don't remember what April or May, he was gone. Like he was just gone, and I was like, who took this whole head?
Yeah.
And the bones were scattered everywhere. So I'm just like, something and I ended up finding him. He was probably 100 yards away, but that was the whole skull and rack.
That's wild.
So something drug it.
Probably a dog or something.
Something drug it. But I mean, that gets you excited for a little turkey hunting.
Yeah.
Here in the near future.
Little cackle.
Little cackle. It is, I tell you what, turkey hunting, self-filming turkey hunts that will wear on you. I mean, self-filming deer hunts we've prided ourselves in the challenge that, that of that part of the sport, but self-filming turkey hunts is it'll wear you out quick. You're just like, I don't want to do this.
And I mean, when it comes down to it, does anybody really give a shit? Like, I'm not trying to hate. I mean, I like hunting in general, so I enjoy turkey hunting, but watching turkey hunting is different. And does anybody really care? What different things could really happen? They're either coming to a call or they're coming to a decoy. And if they're not coming to either, then the hunt's pretty fucking boring.
Well, I mean, yeah, you just don't, there's not a lot of and turkey hunting it's a blast. Like being able to communicate back and forth with an animal like that is, it gives you it's an exhilarating feeling. It really is.
I would agree.
To your point, there's not a lot of differentiation in longbeards. So
You're not
we
aging longbeards. Like
no
when somebody says like that's a 2 year old bird, I want to
don't care.
take my foot and kick myself in the face.
Oh my god, it's a bearded bird. Shoot it.
Yeah,
But
just
even like okay,
hammer the son of a bitch.
even like these, they're like when someone says, "Oh, I shot one. It's got 11-inch beard, inch and 3/4 inch spurs." Like, okay, the year before it had an inch and a half spur, and the year before that had an inch and a quarter. Like,
Right. We're
we,
splitting hairs here
I
on the fucking
personally
spur
like,
length.
yeah, like it's awesome that it's obviously shooting a big old bird like that is cool, but it's just kind of cool to you.
Yeah, I mean, I
It
guess.
doesn't matter. The point is, you went out turkey hunting, you communicated with some birds, or I mean, you hope. It's honestly, it's not as fun when they come in silent. Like it's cool because
Right.
you're just like, wow, it's a cool story. But I would rather have them yapping because
Oh,
that's
for
what gets
sure.
you fired up. It's just like,
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's cool to walk out of the woods with a rope over your shoulder, but yeah, I mean, the communication, that's it, and
listening to the woods wake up. I mean, that's kind of the essence of turkey hunting.
and being able to watch them interact too, where they're strutting and there's hens involved, and they're not ever in a hurry, and then in the blink of an eye they can be in a hurry to get to you like as soon as possible. It's
Yeah,
what honestly one of the most unpredictable animals, I think, from a hunting standpoint that you could ever imagine. Like
it is crazy.
most of the time, turkey hunting makes no sense. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. It's like, why? This bird is literally just standing in the same 15-yard circle, strutting back and forth. You can't even see him, but he's like 100 yards away. You can tell he's not moving, and he's gobbling. It's an hour to the point where you're just like, I don't even care that he's
No,
there gobbling anymore. Like it's just he's not moving. And
yeah,
then you get up, you can crawl like 10 yards and hit the call again, and somehow he knows
he's
you moved 10 yards or something. And then all of a sudden, you know, he doesn't respond. And then you wait like 10 seconds and then he lights up the woods like 60 yards away. And you're just like, oh my God, like he's coming.
but then at that point, yeah, he's coming, and then more than likely you're either gonna see that thing like at like 20 yards, or that thing's gonna gobble again. He's gonna be half the distance more within like seconds probably, and then he's gonna be in your lap. Like it's so crazy how it works like that.
Or you'll be communicating with him and then he just starts going away. But he's responding
To the call.
to the call every time. Or if you're calling, if you're not, he's just walking away gobbling. And it's just like, aren't you gobbling because you want a hen?
Why are you walking away from the hen?
Why are you walking away from me?
I'm
And
the hen. I'm the hen.
if you aren't enticed enough, like you don't think I'm a hen, then why are you gobbling?
Why are you yelling at me?
Gosh damn birds. But going back to it, self-filming them,
Oh God.
because you're not going to pick a tree, get up in a tree, and like I'm gonna hunt, I'm gonna hunt the morning out. I'm gonna sit till
It's
all midday or whatever. You're not committed to that spot. You're literally sometimes you're in a spot for 10 minutes and you're like, I gotta move. Like they're over here. I gotta go cut them off or whatever. And you're carrying a tripod, your gun. I like to carry decoys, at least one, but it's you want to carry two, but just to have them doesn't mean you have to use them. But there's certain situations, especially when you're filming, where you want the bird out in front of you. You want them to come to a certain
well,
spot so that you can get the hunt on film. Otherwise, you know, a lot of
yeah. If
guys
they're
can
gonna
just go sit
circle,
there in the
right?
woods and they can just get up against a tree, not move, don't have to worry about a camera. And if that thing sneaks up behind them, you know, you can wait till the right moment and just,
Give them the old.
wait till you're covered or whatever, turn around and shoot. Self-filming, you can't do that. That's happened to us so many times, these birds.
Well, if you
somehow.
want to get the damn thing on film, no, you
Yeah,
can't do that.
yeah. But I guess the point is you're running all this gear and you got to move a lot. So you're just like, my goodness. So that's why later,
No,
there's times where you're just like, I'm going like you did. You're like, I'm just taking the GoPros. I'm not taking a decoy. I'm just going to cover some ground, get out and enjoy the woods,
yeah.
because I don't want to carry all this stuff. And it worked out for you to do that. So, because if you had all your stuff, you probably wouldn't have been where you were.
Oh, not a chance. I mean, I stopped probably, that was probably my 6th or 7th stop that I legit sat down, set the GoPros up on either side of me, and sat for whatever, 15, 20 minutes, made a couple call sequences, saw if anything answered, and moved on. I mean,
Yeah. So it's just
that's
not
what
to
I
mention.
like with it being such a communicative hunt. That's the way that I like to hunt turkeys the best. Like, run and gun, go on the move. If you call a little bit and they're not answering or you're not seeing anything or whatever, move on. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And
Because you want to be, like you said, you want to be communicating back and forth. Like I'm not, it's cool if they do, but I'm not looking for one to come in silently. Like that's not what I'm
no,
striving to do.
absolutely not.
But nevertheless, we are ready to shoot some beaks.
Ready to bust down some beat
Use some
trails.
use some deeks and shoot some beaks.
Dude, I don't know why I was thinking about this. Last episode, we talked about the hunt in North Dakota and how we went out. I went back on YouTube and I linked it in our on the YouTube video of the podcast. I put the link of the hunt that we were talking about in there. And we called it 21 because that was the 21st day that we were in North Dakota between the first scouting trip in August to then hunting in September to then being back out there in October. But do you remember? Do you remember the story about getting pulled over on that trip or trips? Do you remember that?
Oh yes,
And I'm
yeah.
like,
Forgot about that.
that was, talk about a goose chase. Like, that is one of the most incredible things I think that's ever happened on our hunting road trips. That's for sure.
Yeah, the chances of that happening. And what were you driving the first time, or was I?
The the first time
You were.
I was driving your truck. So to give you guys this story, we went out. This was the hunt that we were talking about when we were hunting Peter Griffin in North Dakota a couple years ago, more than a couple years ago at this point. But we drove Dean's F-150 out the first trip in September. And we went out. We always drive out there because we got all of our shit, camera gear, computer, hunting stuff, whatever. We go out there, we hunt for the week, and we're on our way back. And we're on our way back, and it's like the middle of the night, and we're going through this construction zone. It was somewhere in Wisconsin, and we're cruising along.
Middle of our trip.
Like
I
literally
mean, basically.
dead middle of our trip. We had probably been on the road like 8 or 9 hours. We had another 8 or 9 to go. And I'm cruising. I got the cruise set for like, I think 78. I don't know.
That's just don't advocate speeding, but that's what I mean, 7, 8 miles an hour over.
Yeah.
We're trying to make some time out of it, and that's literally what we set the cruise to. We're like, all right, if you see a cop, you bump the brakes.
Yeah. And whatever. So it's like nighttime, and we had actually just gotten through this construction zone. So there was cars, like it was like a clump of cars that were kind of cruising all together. But it was weird because there was a lot more cars on the road than I thought there should be given that time of night. It had to be 1 a.m.
It was late. I was sleeping. My
Yeah,
pillow was up against the window.
Yeah, Dean was sleeping, so we're cruising, and we passed this cop in the median. I'm literally like not that far from the car in front of me, and there's a car that's pretty much pacing me right behind me. And cop pulls out, starts bobbing and weaving, gets behind us, and pulls us over. I'm like, what the fuck? How'd they pick us out of that whole friggin' crowd? You
And
know,
I
like
just woke up and I was like, what's going on?
Dean's like,
And you're
what's
like,
going
I
on? I'm
think
like,
I'm getting pulled over. I'm like, well, were you
dude, I'm
speeding?
getting. He's like, were you speeding? I'm like, dude, I was doing 78. Like, not really, but I guess enough. And so police officer comes to the window, comes to Dean's window, Dean's side on the passenger side. It's
I'm just
this
waking up.
Dean's literally just waking up. He's got hair like going every which way. And it's a lady cop, and she was super nice.
Very nice.
She asked, for license, registration, whatever, and she's like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "We're coming from North Dakota," and she's like, "Well, what were you doing in North Dakota?" We're like, "We're hunting," and she's like, "Well, where are you going?" We're like, "Ohio," and she's like, "Holy shit!" And we're like,
That's
"Yeah."
far.
She's like, "Man, are you guys driving straight through?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean that's what we do every time." So anyway, long story short, she takes my license, she comes back, and she was like, "I'm gonna give you a written." It was a written warning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just a warning.
Yeah, it was a
I
warning.
honestly think she was like in training.
Yeah, she
Sounded
was
like
because I
she
think there
said
was
she
a.
was brand new.
Yeah, she said she was brand new. Okay, so
Yeah, she gave us a warning and she sent us
sent
on our
us on
way.
her right. We were
Yeah,
kind of like that was so weird. Like
like we've never gotten pulled over for a 78 and
70.
a 70 before, and she was so nice about it that we were just kind of like, I don't.
We
It was
also
weird,
had
weird.
taken now 4 years worth of trips to North Dakota and have never gotten pulled over in that entire time either.
Ever. Yeah. So whatever. We kind of shook it off. We were like, thanks for the warning, this and that. We'll slow it down. So we go anyway. We get home. Fast forward, we're going back out there October.
But I left alone, so I'm in my truck.
Yeah, completely different truck, different color, everything. Um, so
I was in my Tacoma. Yeah, I
yeah,
had my
Tacoma.
Tacoma. Yours was a black F-150.
So we battled it out for 4 or 5 days. Ended up, Dave tagged the buck. We were successful. So we're on our way home. Get everything packed up. We're on our way home. I mean, it's the middle of the night. It's a month and a half later.
Right. After we
Month,
killed, I mean, we killed, we were up the night before celebrating, we took pictures the next day, we packed up, and then we left. I mean, we were beat
yeah,
again.
we were exhausted. So we're like 8 hours into the trip. It's the middle of the night. It might have been like 2 a.m. this time. Might have been a little bit later. I don't remember. I think you were sleeping, maybe.
You were driving my truck and I was
Yeah, I
sleeping in
was
the
driving
passenger
Dave's
seat.
truck. He's sleeping, and it was the same thing. I had the cruise set at 77 or 78, and I'm just cruising, and I see the lights, flick on in a median. I tap the brakes. I go down to 70. I just kind of go to the right lane. Cop pulls out. Dave wakes up. He's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I think I'm getting pulled over." And he's like, "Free speeding." I'm like, "I was going 78. That's what I had the cruise set on." So I pull over. Comes to the
My
David
window.
side,
I'm like,
passenger window. We roll the window down, and all we see is the same lady's face that pulled us over like 45 days prior in the middle of Wisconsin, in the middle of the night,
in the
different
middle of our
vehicle, and
middle of our
she
18-hour drive.
saw us, and her face lit up because we
Dude,
talked to her for like 5 to 10 minutes about tag and brag and what we were doing, and she was like, "Oh, it's awesome." But
remember when she saw us and we saw her, the first thing that came out of any one of our mouths, I just looked at her and I was like, "Oh my God, do you remember us?"
yeah, that was all that was said, and she started laughing. She was like, "Oh my God." I mean, that is the craziest thing, honestly, ever. But
She's like, "Where are you coming from?" We're like, "North
North
Dakota."
Dakota, she's like,
She's
"Where are
like,
you
"Are you
going?"
going
We're
back to Ohio?" We're like,
like,
"Yeah." She's
and
like,
then,
"Did you get anything this time?" We're like, "Yeah, he's in
yeah.
the back. He's in the back."
Oh my God, we were so fired up. But once she said, "Did you get a deer?" Didn't even say, like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Like, all that was thrown out the window. And when she asked you get a deer and we got all fired up, we were like, yeah. And she was like, oh my God, that's awesome. We were just like, this can't be real. This cannot be real. But we had some laughs at whatever, 2 a.m. on the side of the highway. And she was just like, oh my God, you were going 78 or whatever. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm just like, we'll slow it down.
She's like, I'm going to give you a warning this time.
Oh my God. That was so crazy.
We ended up sending her a Christmas card that year. Remember?
Yeah, I think we did.
What are the chances of that? You have a 1,200-mile, 18-hour drive. We've done this for 4 years straight. We have never gotten pulled over. We get pulled over coming back home in September, going 78. She gives us a warning, tells us to go. We are in a different car. The other person's driving. We had to be right in the same spot. Like,
she was probably sitting in the same median. I don't even know.
Freaking median, going like 78, pulls us over again, and it's the same 2 people in the middle of the night. She had to have gone back to the police station and been like,
I have a crazy story.
You guys are not going to believe this. You guys are not going to believe this shit. Oh, my gosh.
And then I'm thinking, how many people is she pulling over going 8 miles an hour over the speed limit? Or 5 or 6? I don't know.
She's got to meet her quota in like a day and a half.
What's the mile per hour cutoff where she's like, okay, I gotta pull him over now?
We should have asked.
Like, was it 8? Were we right there? I mean, most cops, I feel like, will tell you, I feel like most of them, it's 10. And if it's 10, that's still like, you really pulled me over for going 10 over.
Yeah, come on. I got control.
Like 15 over, you're getting pulled over. I get that.
Yeah.
Maybe even 14. But I don't know.
That's goose chasing right there.
Yeah, you're getting on a goose chase. But
15 over is goose chasing.
8 miles an hour, like, I mean, if anything, give me a light check, or something.
Yeah. Or just pull out for a second, or just flick your lights on real quick just to get me to pump the brakes.
Yeah, give me a light check, and then we'll slow it down.
There's no reason to go through all the hassle of pulling out of your spot. You had a great location to catch people speeding, first of all. Pull out of your spot, run me down, pull over, all that good jazz.
But she was, I don't know what the legality is in all these states, but she was one of those cops that sat there in the median with no lights on. Both times, I remember. She did not ever. Well, I remember when I was driving.
She was a sneaky one.
But she was one of them sneaky ones. She was hunting.
She was a hunter. She was good. She was goose chasing.
She obviously was a hunter because she was interested in what we were doing.
Mm-hmm. She was interested in that beef jerky, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
She's like, you boys get that thing back to Ohio. You get that thing skinned up. You get that thing quartered up. You get that thing all toot. You give me some jerky.
You get that thing all drying out there for me? You get that thing all marinated up?
Age them hams.
You gonna age them for about 30 days?
Mm-hmm. Get that ham looking like blue cheese, baby. Blue cheese.
You cut that blue cheese off. You eat that underskin.
Oh, God, you can eat it raw like sushi.
Oh, that is funny stuff.
That is good stuff. Then, adventures like that, you don't run into unless you take that adventure. You know what I mean?
You ain't gonna create a story unless you get the experience.
Unless you go out there and you chase it. And that's what we're out here doing. We're out here chasing.
Running down a dream. Never would come to me.
Oh, Tom Petty, we love you. R.I.P. One of the better concerts I've ever been to, if I'm not going to lie. And I would not lie about that.
One of the several good concerts we went to, but one in particular he did was whew.
Yeah, it was
top notch.
It was pissing rain, and he played through it, and everybody played through it with him, and it was just a wild time. Wish that man was still alive. I'm not going to lie. Wish he was still alive.
Music making machine.
Anyway, Dino, I think that's a good spot to wrap it up from right here. We talked about a lot of things. That was good.
That was good.
We had another couple technologically malfunction cameras go left, right, and sideways on us. So we apologize for that along the way and along the video. But
First one apart, I think we did pretty good. We got some of the kinks out.
we sure did. And guys, as always, as you're watching these podcasts or listening to these podcasts, if there's any story that you want us to tell or you want us to recap or a hunt that you remember that you want us to go a little bit more in depth on, feel free to shoot us a message. We would love to take your calls and would love to satisfy your listening needs. So we want to hear it.
Don't be shy.
Please don't be shy. It's a friendly world out here in the tag and brag world. We're blocking off the haters, but we're a friendly bunch. So come on in, sit your ass down, and let's have a story.
Yeah, if you got something bad to say, then be shy.
Then suck it. Take your frickin'. If you got something bad to say,
be shy.
Then tighten up your lip, pucker your crevice, and walk your ass that way. That's what I gotta say.
Yeah, go channel that energy into something good.
Yeah. Or channel it bad to yourself. Don't want to hear it.
Don't want to hear it.
Guys, once again, if you are listening, watching, whatever, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to us on Spotify for all the latest and greatest podcasts to come. Search us on TikTok and Instagram at Team TAGNBRAG, at TAGNBRAG on Facebook. And I don't know. That's about it. That's all I really know right now. It's like 70 and sunny here in Nashville, so I'm fiending for some outdoor activities this afternoon.
Well, that's delightful. It's 30 degrees and pissing ice here in Northeast Ohio. So
that sounds painful.
Really envious of your weather.
I'm gonna go get some sun on my cheeks for you, Dino. I'm gonna get some sun on my cheeks.
Yep, get the reflectors out because them cheeks are visible from
space,
Elon's freaking satellites.
That's how they keep them satellites in orbit, baby. Keep satellites in orbit one cheek at a time.
Keep your gooseneck up.
Keep the gooseneck up, baby. Another episode of Goose Chasing is officially, but unofficially over. But it's been real.
I love that gooseneck. See that?
He's a 3-point machine, folks.
If you're working on your shot, flick that wrist, keep that gooseneck up.
Keep it up and watch that thing fly.
Backpedal down the court a little bit. Keep that gooseneck up a little bit. Let everyone know your follow through came through good. Woo!
Goose chasing. All right, y'all. Until next week.
We'll see you then. It's been real.
Peace.